Hosting retreats is awesome, and finding the right venue seems to be a place where a lot of people, including myself, get tripped up. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some tips and some unique and exciting venues that you can use to host your retreats for little to even no money. I know how it feels. When you decide that you want to host a retreat, you want everything to be perfect. And a lot of times when we think perfect, we think expensive. We want a luxury venue, we want a luxury experience, we want to provide so many goodies to everybody who attends. And what can end up happening is that we end up overspending on the retreat and not making any money at it. This happens again and again. Another issue with venues is that if you go with a traditional venue, like say a hotel, then a lot of times they have rules and regulations and contracts that you have to sign, and you can get yourself into a lot of trouble if you're not very familiar with how to negotiate these contracts effectively. So these are some reasons why I recommend, especially for people who are kind of earlier in the journey of doing their own retreats, to find venues outside the norm, to think outside the box and don't necessarily go with some of the more established or standard venues for a retreat. So this particular video, I'm going to share with you a few stories and a few examples of ways that I've gotten really creative with my venues, and so have my clients. So obviously hotels are one of the first places, if not the first place, that people think of when they want to host an event or a retreat. But hotels, as I said earlier, can be expensive and have a lot of rules and a lot of things that make them less than desirable if you want to make a good profit on your retreat. So one of the best tools that I use now when I'm looking for a retreat venue is VRBO. VRBO is a website, vrbo.com, and it stands for Vacation Rentals by Owner. So it's kind of like Airbnb, but it's Airbnb specifically for vacation rentals rather than just business overnight stays and things like that. They tend to be more resorty type places, larger places oftentimes, places that are going to allow you to host an event at them, whereas sometimes on Airbnb, people don't like to have events at their venues. So VRBO is where I found a sweet house in Breckenridge, Colorado for my very first Influencer Circle retreat 6 years ago. Back then it was called the Inner Circle. We had like 8 or 10 bedrooms and everybody got their own room, and it was fantastic, and the price was very, very low. If you're willing to go outside of high season in certain resort areas like Orlando or Breckenridge, Colorado, or Vail, places like that, you can get a really sweet deal on an amazing place if you do off season. So I highly recommend checking out VRBO. Another option that you may never have thought of is finding a local church. Churches often have a lot of unused space. They use them on Sundays most of the time, but the rest of the time they usually have a lot of empty places, and they have a desire to serve the community, and they usually don't require for you to invest a lot of money. So churches can be a great option, especially if you're affiliated with that church, or even if what you're doing has an affinity with the church. So highly recommend. Believe it or not, I actually held one of our Women's Success Summits at a synagogue, even though we weren't Jewish and it wasn't a Jewish event. Of course, there were some Jewish people there, but this synagogue was out of use, and the people that owned it weren't making any money off of it, weren't using it, so they lent it to us. Actually, they rented it to us for very, very much lower than we ever would have gotten a hotel or something like that. So churches. Another off the beaten path idea is to check out theaters in your area. So theaters where they host shows and plays and things like that, and also movie theaters, especially now. Right now I'm talking to you in fall of 2020, and a lot of theaters have been shut down for a long time and might even go out of business. Maybe someone like you could come along and help them stay afloat a little bit longer by renting one of their theaters. Similar to a theater is also a concert venue or a live music venue. A lot of times those places only need the nighttime to operate, and they're willing to lend it to you or rent it to you throughout the day. Another place that you might consider is to look at schools. We did an event once. We did a retreat in Colorado during the off season when school was out of session, and we were able to rent a schoolhouse, the whole place with all the classrooms and everything, for $50 a day. Can you believe it? I couldn't believe it. I thought it was $50 an hour when they first quoted it to me. Even at $50 an hour, it would have been a decent deal. But at $50 a day, it was a total steal. So look into classrooms, schools, colleges, places that have class type of environments that you can repurpose for your retreat. If you're running retreats, or if you're thinking about running retreats, then I have an entire playlist just for you, all about how to design, fill, monetize, and deliver fantastic retreats. Check it out by clicking on the link up here and subscribing to my channel. Another option is to connect with your local Chamber of Commerce. See, chambers of commerce are basically in business just to help you succeed and just to help people in their area succeed. So that was one of the ways that I got started with my first events, is that I invited my Chamber of Commerce, where I was a member, I invited them to become partners with me, and they actually let me use their meeting space to host my very first speaking engagement ever. And the last place that I recommend looking is in your very own network. If you're on Facebook, as is 99% of the population, put out your signal, send out the bat signal, and let everybody know, hey, I'm looking for a venue to host my retreat. Here are some of the details. I did that years ago, and actually one of my friends, I didn't realize, who owned a gym, had an entire second floor of the gym that they were paying rental for, but they weren't using. So we were able to rent it from her for really cheap, and she got the benefit of having somebody cover her costs for that month that she normally would have been paying herself. And finally, I invite you to just be open. One of my clients, Albert Pellichet, does these men's retreats. They're called Man Camp. And Albert found a boat on Airbnb or VRBO or one of these places, super cheap, and all these guys get to stay on the boat, which is kind of a cool experience, and they get to kind of rough it a little bit, and they love it, and it's so unique and special and different. Nobody ever forgets the experience. So just be open to different things, trying new things out that you never would have thought of before. Open yourself up to these different ideas and see what comes through. If you're doing retreats and you're looking for guidance and support in order to do them more effectively and more profitably, then let's connect. You can check out superstaractivator.com/go, or click on the link below and put some time on my calendar for us to chat. I promise you that no matter what, I will help you get new insight, new ideas, whether we work together or not. So I look forward to connecting with you.